before we jump into get the user's location, I just want to mention that right now you have a working Alexa skill, and you can go modifying intents, you can write out what the different responses, and if that's all you want to do, you can go from here and have it working. But let's go ahead and get the user's location. In order to do this, we're going to need to have access to an API, an application program interface that lets you query the zip code and country of the user. And that's a permission that we gave to our skill back on the user space side of it. In order to be able to do that, down at the bottom, where we create the skill build, custom skill builder, we're going to need to add this call right here. So with API client, and then we're going to say a new default API client. So this will get us access to that stuff to be able to, there's a bunch of other things. You can just search for this online and you'll see some of the other things you can do as well. While we're down here in this section, I'm going to just clean some of this up a bit. I don't think we need that on the new line. And then I'm not even sure what this is for, so I'm just going to get rid of it, just make it cleaner. Okay, so now we should be able to get to that part of the code. Now back up here, I've already got it typed out, so I'll just copy and paste it in here. And then I'll go over it. So first of all, I want to start putting in a bunch of log messages. So this first one just shows that we've entered this function. I can type whatever I want in here, and I'll show you how to get access to see these messages. And that'll help you do the debugging to see, okay, where am I in the code? What's going on? You can even add different variables to here. But basically, I want to know, okay, have I gotten into this function? So I've added that. Then we're going to want to store the, and this is another way to do comments, by the way, but I want to store the zip code and the country. But for now, I just want to have those values set to -1, something so that I know, okay, they haven't been changed, and some value that they likely won't ever get set to. Next, we come in, and I'll talk about the try catch in a little bit, but we get some, basically we're taking our handler input and we're breaking it out into a couple different things. The main one we want for that API is the service client factory. Okay, then what we got to do is check a consent token. So we'll check our request envelope, context, system, user, permissions, and then we'll also make sure, so if we have this, then we'll also go and check and get the consent token, okay? So then we'll check, do we have a consent token? If we do, then we should be good to go and we should be able to get the address, or not the address, sorry, the postal code and country. If we don't, what Amazon wants us to do is to send a response back and say, please enable device, country, and postal code permissions in the Amazon Alexa app. And you can send a permission card, consent card. So this will pop up a notification in their app, or if it's got a display on the display saying, hey, we want permission to read your country and postal code. And then you get the response. So this basically ends the conversation with the user saying, hey, I need these permissions. If you get past that, then we should be able to get that. So we need to get the device ID, and then we'll use that service client factory, and we'll call get device address service client. So this is where we start getting into the address area. Then from there, we'll call get country and postal code, and we pass in the device ID. So we want to get the address, keep saying that, the postal code and country for that specific device. And there's other ones that you can get a full address if you need that, but then you got to specify that in the permissions. One of the key things here is we have to wait for that. So we say await. Now, because we're doing this, you've got to add the keyword async for an asynchronous call up here at the top. Okay, so you make this an asynchronous function. We're waiting, we're getting the address. Then let's do some more output. Let's say, okay, we got this info, and we'll get the address country code and the address postal code. Then let's store this information in our variables, zip code, zip country. Now this is another interesting one. A user can put their postal code in and not have it in the US. Right now, since we're checking for wildfires, the data that I found was specific to the United States. So I want to limit the usability of this skill to the US folks only. So what I do here is I'm checking the zip country to make sure it's, if it's not in the US, well, first let's output some message to show, hey, the zip country was something else. And then let's send a response. Fire monitor or fire test is not supported in your current location. This is another thing, information that I got back from the certification. So now, after all this, we should have the zip code and the zip country. Now, we want to wrap this whole thing in a try-catch statement. So if we run into any errors there, first, let's display the error trying to get zip code and country code, so we can figure out what was going on. And then let's just return, I assume it's some kind of error with getting permissions. So let's return, please enable device country and postal code permissions in your Amazon Alexa app, and let's ask for the consent card. So, well, this is exactly the same as what we did up here. So if we run into any errors, we're just going to assume it's something with that and ask for the permissions. So that is basically it. After this, now we should have the user's location. So what I'm going to do is let's save this and let's go to our commit and let's say get user zip and country. And let's stage. Yeah, I made some other changes here, but I'm changing it back basically. Okay, let's commit that. Okay, now we should be good to go and deploy the skill. Okay, looks like we've got an error. Okay, so what had happened was when I went to try to push my skill out to the server, I had gone and on the web console, I had made a quick little change. And so back here, it no longer worked for me because I had split the code up in two paths. And what I needed to do, if you ever run into this, is you can go to your source control up here and click on this, the three little dots, and say pull. And that'll pull code down from the server back, and it'll create a merge. So then if you look on my file in the timeline, you'll see right here a merge from the master branch of the remote server. So I had done things a little bit different, but I went through and figured figured out how I wanted it to look back the way we had just coded it. So it should be the same. I'll just need to make sure like the async is still there. The awaits there. All of these log messages are there. Sometimes I'll comment those out just so it's not wasting time writing debug messages. And then let's double check down at the bottom. Everything looks good down here. Okay, so now we should be able to save it, and then we'll say get user location, add that, commit it, and now we'll deploy the skill, which is also pushing our changes to the server. So this time it should go through. Okay, our build is successful. Now let's switch back over to our Amazon Developer Console. So this is, I think we left off on the build, or actually no, it was on the test side. One thing I want to show you is if you switch over to code, down here, you can get to your Amazon Cloud Watch logs. So go ahead and click on that. It'll open a new window. So their logs seem to be separated into groups. And then you'll see a whole bunch of different log streams. This is for, I believe, every instance of your skill being launched. So all of our console.log output that we wrote in, those will show up in here. But let's first go back. Let's click on test. And then let's say open fire test. See what happens.
Please enable device country and postal code permissions in the Amazon Alexa app.
Okay. Let's go look at our log. Let's refresh this. We should see a new log now. Let's open it up. And you'll see it kind of cuts it off here. So you to properly view it, you just click on it and see the whole thing. So here's our lookup fire intent handler, enter. Then we said we got to don't have consent token. And then that's it. Then it ends the request. So if we go look back at the code, we got to here, and then we got into here. Don't have the consent token. So we didn't enable the permissions. Now, one thing from now on, what we'll find is we won't be able to use this simulator to test it. You're going to have to test it on your actual Alexa device. And because of the location permissions, it's just not available here in the simulator. So you'll have to go into your phone to the Alexa skill app and enable the permissions. You'll also enable development mode and push that skill to your Alexa device. And then you'll start interacting directly with your device, if it's an Echo Dot or whatever kind of device it is, or even your phone itself. I'm going to see if I can get a screen share of my phone so you can see that stuff happening. But this should be about it. Once you've enabled the permissions, you should be able to get the postal code and the country code. And so that is our next step. Okay, so let me show you on my phone here. So I'll go into my Amazon Alexa app, and then under more on the lower right hand side, then skills and games. And sorry, my phone's pretty slow. Over here on the right, your skills. In the upper right section. Now you'll have some enabled, some updated, one that needs attention, a blueprint, and then dev. So you'll want to go into Dev over here. And you might need to set it to enabled somehow. I'm not sure exactly how that was done on mine because I already did it. Let me go back in. But so I've got a couple different ones here. The one we're playing with right now is Fire Monitor 2. So, and we'll change this stuff later. But you click on Settings, and then this is where you'll enable the device country and postal code. So you just click Manage Account Permissions, turn that on, save permissions, and that should be it. So now, let me re-enable my Echo Dot, and I'm going to say, Alexa, open Fire Test.
Welcome to Fire Test. I have no idea where the nearest fire is.
Okay, I'll turn the volume up. Hopefully you folks heard that. Now, let me switch my sharing. And let's go back to our Cloud Watch logs. And let's go back up to the main group. Let's refresh it. We should have a new one up here. Okay, so here was an older one. Then right here, look up Fire Handler, enter. And then we have a consent token. And then here's the information we got. So US, and then it was the country, and the zip code is 95762. So there you can see we've made it all the way through the code, and we ended up right here. So we've got that. The country was US, so we won't be going into this. And the next step is going and getting the fire data.